We're back at the scooter, and of course this part here won't fit on the top of the Arreche carburetor. So what we need to do is remove it and keep this upper part. I've already pulled the boot off, and what we want to do is cut a slit in here big enough to fit a screwdriver in and pry it open so that this brass piece pops out, and then we can take this whole piece off. And I'm going to start off by removing this here, and when I come back I'm going to be cutting this off. Now there's two ways of cutting it off, and one of the ways I used is just a simple tool like this, and I'm not sure if I'm going to try the trim roll this time, because if you make a mistake you can cut the cable inside, and that's the last thing you want to do is cut that cable. But anyway, I'm going to cut it off. I'm using a pair of vice grips to hold this a little bit steady, and I can rest my hand against it down here and hold my trim roll steady. And I'm going to cut a slit across here with the trim roll, enough to get the screwdriver in there, and pry this open so I can get this brass piece out. Well, I got my groove cut in there, and as you can see here, I'm trying to get a screwdriver in there to pry that out. And there we go. Cable intact. I took a couple nicks out of it, but as long as you don't go through it and cut the cable, we're good. So I'm going to bring the carburetor on over, bolt it in, and then we'll line up the throttle cable. Here's the carburetor that you earlier saw, and what we want to do is we're going to put this cable here down into the top of this here. But instead of having that cable in there and just having it sitting there rattling around, it's better to have it snug tight. And in the Arreche carburetor you get this little black garment, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the razor blade and I'm going to cut the top off, and I'm going to slide this up on top of up this tube here, and then after I put the carburetor together I'm going to take this and slide it down over the top of the carburetor, and that's going to make a nice snug fit between the carburetor itself and the end of the cable right up here. So I'm going to work on this. I'm going to mount the carburetor because I have other videos that show the carburetor being mounted, so I'm not going to repeat that. I did show this on another video, but way at the end, so I'll go over this one more time. I got my rubber garment up there. I'm going to go ahead and run the cable through the lid. And what I like to do is zip tie my spring so I don't have to fight it. So I put that on. And if you want, you can pull your rubber thing down, but I don't do that yet. The rubber top. Now, you got to look inside here and figure out which way this is going to go on. And it's going to go on this way. And you hold all that up. and you install this. Now after that's installed, you can drop that down and see if it drops down into the correct place. And as you can see, it is. Now we're ready to put our needle in. So we're going to turn it upside down, shake that lock out, drop our needle down inside there, put our lock back in there, and we're ready to cut the 2 zip ties. Putting this all together with the spring expanded like this is usually very, very difficult. So expanding it afterwards is much, much easier. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in here, kind of put it in place, and then put this back up in here. Okay, I'm going to be bolting that on now. Well, now that the carburetor is mounted and I installed the 2 screws up here, I am going to push this down over the bolt. See, there you go. Now you won't have anything rattling. On a couple of the scooters, I went ahead and put zip ties right here and here, but this rubber's still fresh and soft, so it fits quite well. I've mounted the carburetor and I've pulled that rubber boot down over the top of the nut that was up there, and it fits really tight and snug and it doesn't rattle or move. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and put the stock rubber boot over the carburetor so I can keep it as stealthy as possible. Nobody's going to know I have a bigger carburetor, nor are they going to know I have a 70cc kit in here. So other 50cc scooters will have no idea that we've been modified. The whole point of this video was to get you familiar with the Arreche carburetor, get you familiar with porting the manifold and porting that gasket that's in between, and creating your own gasket, and even more so the throttle cable on the top, adapting it to the Arreche carburetor. Now I will need to do some adjustments with the throttle and the line and the oil line to make sure everything works correctly, but that I'm not going to show. You do need to do that though. Hope this video helps you with your Arreche carburetor install. Thank you for watching.